Hello everyone, can you hear me well? All right, let's get started, and I'm sure meanwhile more people will be joining. So, hi everyone again. Thanks so much for joining the Startup Club HealthTech Investment Conference. I hope every one of you will enjoy your time here today and will come across good investment opportunities. I'm Batuan, and I'll be the host today. I see many familiar faces, but for those who don't know about us, the Startup Club is a global entrepreneur community. So through these industry-specific fundraising events, we connect startups with investors. I will also just share my screen so that you can take a look at the presenters as I'm speaking. Just a second. All right. All right, so we just don't focus health, but we also cover industries like fashion tech, green tech, B2 tech, ad tech, fintech, prop tech, and it goes like that. And towards the end of this year, we are also planning to have B2B SaaS enterprise solutions and AI agents related investment conference. We will announce them soon as well. And today we invited 8 promising health tech startups, and each of them will do 5-minute presentation that will be followed by a 6-minute Q&A with the advisory board members. So each company will have 11 minutes in total. So the event will take about 100 minutes or less than 2 hours, and we will go straight without break. And we work with 4 VC for the advisory board, V partners, Colmore Store Ventures, Simple Health, and 50 partners. I will ask the advisors to introduce themselves. Diego, would you like to introduce yourself? First of all, thanks so much for joining. But I guess you are not able to open your mic. Let me allow it. Okay, right now it's open. Okay.
Yeah, now it's working.
Yep.
Thank you very much for having me today. Diego Braguglia, I am a partner since 2002 with VI Partners. We are a VC fund based in Altendorf, Switzerland, investing in 2 verticals, ICT, telecom software, B2B, SaaS, and in healthcare, we are investing in therapeutics, medical devices, and digital health.
Great. Thanks so much, Diego. Philippa, could you please introduce yourself as well?
Hi everyone. Thanks so much, Batuan, for having me. I'm looking forward to hearing the pitches today. I'm Felipa, investor at Calmstorm Ventures. We're an early stage health tech fund based out of Vienna, investing in super early stage companies across Europe and the US. So predominantly at pre-seed and seed, and specifically into digital health solutions. Looking forward to hearing the pitches.
Great. Thanks so much. Pratik?
Hey, thanks, Batuan. I'm Pratik. I am an investor at Simply Health Ventures. We're the corporate venture fund of Simply Health Group, who are an insurance company in the UK. We typically invest across Europe from late seed all the way to Series B, and our ticket sizes are £1 to £5 million. So not super early stage, but it's not quite growthy either. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks so much for joining, Pratik. Jean Robos.
Thanks a lot for having us, and happy to meet you all. I'm Jean, I'm part of 50 Partners, and I've built a health tech branch of this structure. We have the particularity to gather and engage 50 of the most successful French health tech entrepreneurs. We are also gathering an early stage health tech fund, specifically focused on the companies that we are supporting through the accelerator as well. So thanks a lot for having us, and hopefully.
Great. Thanks so much, Jane, for joining. All right. So, by the way, everyone in the audience, you can also use the chat to interact with the presenters. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat, but only the 4 advisory board members will interact with the presenters directly by opening their mic due to the time constraint. You can also use the chat for like networking opportunities. Feel free to introduce yourself, share your LinkedIn account, etc. All right. So the first page, the first company is DermaSensor. Cody Simmons, CEO of the company, will share the opportunity with us. Cody, feel free to share your screen and start the presentation. We will have 5 minutes to pitch, then 6 minutes Q&A with the advisors.
All right, sounds good. And I did not think about how my checkered shirt would look a little crazy on this video camera.
You look great. You look great.
All right. Can everyone see that fine? Great. Okay. So yeah, my name is Cody Simmons. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DermaSensor. We've commercialized the first FDA-cleared automated skin cancer diagnostic for use by all 1 million physicians in the US. Our 40 million of investment raised to date includes VCs, prominent medtech entrepreneurs, and executives. Why skin cancer? Skin cancer is the most common cancer in the United States and globally, with over 3 million Americans diagnosed each year. My mother was diagnosed with early stage melanoma over a decade ago, and I had my first biopsy at the age of 15 growing up playing tennis in Florida. However, only 8% of at-risk patients are screened annually like they're supposed to be. Primary care providers are the frontline defense for evaluating suspicious lesions, but their performance is far below dermatologists since, by definition, these generalists are not specialized and expert in dermatology. So the big public health and market opportunity is to improve cancer screening diagnosis by these frontline providers, empowering them with a fast and inexpensive tool. And that is where our device comes in. So for the first time in America, with our device, you can now ask your doctor about a suspicious mole, and they can immediately, non-invasively test it for skin cancer risk. That has never before been possible in medicine. The standard of care has always been the clinician literally eyeballing it and subjectively deciding what to do. Whereas that lesion can now be immediately tested by your family doctor, internal medicine, OB-GYN, picture nurses at CVS Minute Clinics, pharmacists. So we were FDA cleared for commercial sales last year, began delivering devices in May. Primary care physicians have both a clinical and financial incentive to track test for skin cancer. And 2 of our many published studies show that our device delivers dermatologist level accuracy to our non-dermatologist users. So the entire process, very easy. It takes 30 seconds from when you pick the device up to when you get the results. I can do a demo during the Q&A if folks like. So the xenon lamp pulses light to take 1 millimeter optical tissue samples of the cellular features. The algorithm's analyzing 47 of those wavelengths. And the 0 to 10 output corresponded to a cancer likelihood of 3% to 61% in our pivotal study with over 1,000 patients and 224 cancers that was led by Mayo Clinic. So that's a 20-fold difference in cancer likelihood that you can quickly, non-invasively obtain. We've completed 15 studies in total. These 6 published studies shown here and used with the FDA demonstrate that the device performance is on par with in-person derms, superior to non-specialists or PCPs, and shows PCPs using the device beat out those that do not. So of the over 10,000 page submission to the FDA, kind of key findings were that we show the device decreases missed skin cancers by half and also increasing accuracy. And other studies show that we can rule out 1/4 of unnecessary biopsy lesions and rule out 2/3 of benign lesions that patients are worried about. And health systems and payers are very excited that for the first time, health systems can quantitatively, systematically push high-risk patients to the front of the line to see dermatologists, because half the health systems we talk to have over a 6-month wait. We've been covered in dozens of top media outlets, Forbes, Reuters, Nature Medicine, CBS, and in late 2024 received 3 big awards. One was being listed on Time Magazine Best Inventions of the Year. Our TAM in terms of recurring revenue is $3 billion a year just for the US market, just for this first algorithm. We have 2 active pipeline programs. Our unit economics are very attractive. Device COGS is $1,500, gross margins of 88% with a $399 per month subscription model. We expect LTV to CAC to be around 5 to 1. And yeah, we've had a good first year of commercial traction. We've signed 4 leading health systems for paid deployments. We hope to sign Optum actually in the next few weeks for all of their Nevada clinics, which would be kind of the first step toward a national deployment. And remember, they employ 10% of all doctors in the country. Like that's our whole forecast. We hope for the next 5 years can make us $1 billion company, get 10% market penetration. So very excited about that. We're currently closing 1 new private practice a day, and 1/3 of those sales cycles are a week or less. Our device usage is also very high, which we're excited about, seeing the high usage and uptake there. Our first contract was signed in February 2024. Our ARR at the end of the year was 350. Our target this year is 3 million. So that's like a 750% increase year over year, and would be a strong start. We just began device deliveries in May. So end of this year would be 18 months in. If we can reach a few million ARR, we think, definitely on the right side of the bell curve in terms of product launches of entirely new product categories. My co-founder and our chairman, Dr. Maurice Ferre, has founded and sold 2 medtech companies, the most recent being Mako Surgical for $1.6 billion. I have a business and bioengineering background at Brown and Stanford, after which I spent several years at Genentech. And this is the third health tech device company I've launched, the second as co-founder. We also have great operations, medical and commercial leaders. So thank you all for your interest. We're looking for partners to join us in further accelerating our growth and adoption, both in the US and certainly in Europe. We've done some interesting pilot work in Germany, actually. If you're interested, please reach out to our website. You can email me, cody.simmons@dermasensor.com. And hope some folks will join us in our mission to solve skin cancer.
Great presentation. Thank you, Cody. Philippa, would you like to start? As you think about the presentation, do you have any questions or comments?
Thanks so much, Cody. And your shirt looks great. No worries about that. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit on your sort of competition in the space. I suppose perhaps sort of initially with the current options that primary care physicians have. You briefly mentioned it, but then also, what your competitors in the space look like.
I was hoping someone would ask that because I was like, I don't think I have time in 5 minutes, but so the only tool that's been available for decades is called a dermatoscope. So it's literally a polarized magnifying glass. So it helps kind of the visualization of a lesion, even though it takes hundreds of hours of training to really improve, become skilled at that imaging modality, and it's subjective. 10% of PCPs use it, which is pretty encouraging. I mean, no reimbursement, tons of training time. So we think that's good, a proof of concept of like the clinical need and benefits of this. In terms of automated tools that provide any kind of risk output, by definition, there are none that are competitive because we're de novo status breakthrough, so there's no image-based or device that provides any kind of risk assessment of skin lesions, hence all the media coverage and everything. But there's been a lot of hype about that for image-based tools for years, well, really for decades, actually. So some apps were shut down by the federal government here in the US a few years ago for just illegally marketing them through the App Store. There's one image-based tool for derms, use hyperspectral imaging, that did get FDA approval. So none for generalists. There's been 2 that have ever been approved just for derms, just for melanoma. They kind of are fighting the biopsy battle. Derms love doing their biopsies. It's clinical gold standard and they get paid $100 for a 2-minute procedure. So that actually helped inform us not going after specialists. And that's the same thing that DermTech did. They actually reached a $2 billion market cap. They got 10% market adoption in like a year. And then the market realized, wait, derms aren't actually using them. Like it was a novelty. They got Medicare coverage, and then derms are like, wait, why would I do this instead of just doing a biopsy? And then that's pretty much it. There's some image-based ones in Europe where the regulations are much lower, but like 5 competitors have failed to meet FDA standards and get through in the US. There's generalizability issues. Imaging doesn't work on skin of color. And even if you fix all of that, great, you're just assessing surface level data that the clinician's already staring at. Like how much is that really helping? So our big challenge, you can actually see it behind me. Here, I'll go off screen share. So that's what I inherited. That's what Boston University and Maurice, he's been on the board of trustees, started with versus our current product. So our big challenge was on the front end, especially it's not, hard from a fundraising standpoint, saying we're not going to use a smartphone. We're going to miniaturize this crazy expensive system down to this small. So.
Thanks, Cody.
Cody, could you share with us your path to reimbursement of your test? Because so far, I think basically the clinics are paying for the device, but I think your final scope is that the patient will pay for it and your test will be reimbursed. Could you share with us what your strategy is in that direction?
Yeah, it's definitely so the downside of creating a new product category is there is no Cat 1 code with coverage and payment, right? Because this product never existed before. So what's exciting is we're seeing such high adoption even without reimbursement. So when we actually get a Cat 1 code with coverage and payment, I think kind of even more of a hockey stick at that point. But for now, right? So a lot of doctors, they're like, well, we don't really care about the device. We get paid well for doing biopsies. And this tells us, being non-specialists, like what to biopsy, which is very helpful. So that's maybe about 10 to 15% of our customers. We have a couple hundred users so far. About a third are doing cash pay. So they just charge like, hey, $30 for point-of-care skin cancer test. It's this new non-invasive spectroscopy device that the FDA approved. So a decent amount do that. A bit over half are traditional fee-for-service that document the device use and skin exam as part of E&M, which is their bread and butter, right? Because derms can't do that because they're already doing skin stuff in every visit. But PCP, someone comes in for an annual wellness visit, a steroid injection, whatever, like, oh, and do you have any moles you're worried about? Oh, great, I can check them out, scan them, they document that additional work. And it doesn't increase their reimbursement every time, but it does sometimes. And that's why we have a subscription model. Because we tell doctors, hey, whether you do a biopsy or not, whether E&M, gets up leveled or not, don't worry about that. Use it as you want clinically, and you'll get incremental revenue. Sometimes that'll cover the $399 per month. So that's kind of been the talk track and sales pitch. But we think average revenue per device, instead of being like 4,000 a year, would be 10,000 a year plus once we get a CPT code in place.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah. Thanks so much for the question, Philippa Diego. Thank you for the answer, Cody. Actually, the time is up. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And everyone in the audience, feel free to reach out to Cody, DermaSensor, to learn more about the company. Thank you, Cody, again.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. The next pitch is QuantiLight. Quentin, CEO and co-founder of company, will do the presentation. Quentin, feel free to share your screen and go ahead with the presentation.
Absolutely. So good evening from my side to everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm Quentin from QuantiLight, and I'm going to tell you about the Swiss national blood testing that we are developing.
All right.
These 5 seconds, the pitch is starting. It was the time to draw blood for a laboratory blood test. It is short, but to get there, patients need a long commute, waiting in a crowded room, and then days to get the results. It's very long now. But imagine now, for 23 million chronic patients, they do it up to every week to get their treatment adjusted. So to them and their caregivers, that's every year, a week, and over 11,000 euro lost. So at QuantiLight, we are on a mission to ease their life with a remote platform for clinician decision support that participates to precision medicine and decentralized revolution, but will not only save them tremendous time, but also hospitals' budgets. How does that work? Patients will prick their finger, apply a drop of capillary blood onto a test cartridge, and insert it into our reader. Reader transfers the result to the physician automatically. All it takes is 15 minutes. Physician checks it, provides its recommendation within its usual tools. Patient checks it, and then can adjust the treatment accordingly. So this way, we empower the patients. We save physicians and nurses up to 30 minutes per test, and payers up to 80 euros, as well as hospital visits and stays for patients. So you might have heard of other at-home testing platform or even point of care. We differentiate from them by testing such a large range of biomarkers with lab-precise results at the patient's home. How do we do it? With our bioluminescent sensors. They are covered by 3 granted patents, and we already designed 7 of them on the same architecture, and more are following. To de-risk, we recently built around them 2 platform prototypes. 50 patients are using the first one at home in a clinical trial, and the second one is even easier to use. So using these insights, we now develop the product from next month on, together with partners experience in medical devices. The results. But our platform has huge potential. We will start in the post-organ transplant space, 219 million euros, due to the high test frequency, absence of competition. Tests will further unlock additional markets, centralized clinical trials, 11.6 billion euros. We are a team of 3 founders, 2 scientists from the Max Planck Institute, combined 15 years expertise, chemistry, biochemistry, biotechnology, and a commercial founder with extensive industry experience in pharma. We have long-term support of our director, tier 1 institutions, doctors in Europe and US. Our journey started in 2022, joining the Max Planck Incubator, and with our 1 million euro non-dilutive pre-seed grant, we already developed 2 platform prototypes and are now starting our product development. We'll enter the market in 2028, first addressing the kidney transplanted patients at the point of care, before ramping up in the US and key European markets from 2029, also addressing liver transplants, as well as shifting to home. And we'll run our first pilot study with pharma in 2030 on our 3rd product. So I'm presenting tonight because now we are raising 2.5 million euro seed round, mix of grant dilutive funding. And with it, we will de-risk both product and markets. On the product side, we'll achieve product development to later certify as an IVD, CE, and FDA, grow our sensors portfolio, in parallel, secure go-to-market distribution. So all is so here and more in a read deck. If you want to receive it, please feel free to scan this code. And of course, we'd love you to become part of our journey and together bring Precise to the patients. Thank you, and happy to take questions.
Great, thanks so much, Corentin. Jean, would you like to start? Do you have any questions or comments?
Sure, and thanks a lot, Corentin, for your presentation. So I'm very eager to know more about your convictions. A lot of point-of-care diagnostic tools have tried. Unfortunately, a lot have failed, and I'm very curious about where you think you have a specific edge apart from the product side of it. Yeah.
No, thanks for this question. I think indeed, so yeah, there have been like a lot of challenges in the point of care space, and I think it's fair to say that 2 things have happened. At first, the Theranos scandal, and second, the COVID's bubble, which then just exploded. So, and this, I think, really both highlighted the 2 sides of the coin. Say what happens when a product fails, but also what happens when the market's appetite is not there anymore. And this we plan to address those. So on the products with our tech that we've been developing for more than 10 years at the Max Planck Institute. It's covered now, like proven in clinical trial. But as you mentioned, market is an important even more important dimension, and that's why we look at patients who are chronic patients at first. So really a recurring population with which we can then generate recurrent revenues. Post-organ transplanted patients are 1.5 million. They will test their whole life, up to once per week in the first year, and then slowly decreasing. And then we address the second market, which is the decentralized clinical trial, with the advantage of moving away from the reimbursement, but having pharma as a payer. And they are really showcasing the power of our platform to measure several analytes from home, and especially to be able to design new tests. So also addressing the needs for any specific trial. And with this, then we think that we can really make a difference as a platform and like, let's say, resist waves like, for example, COVID has been. So really with like a long-term strategy that then of like slowly building up the portfolio, but really demonstrating value on different value chains to then make it attractive for an exit.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you, Jean. Pratik, what about you?
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit more about the costs involved to make the products and then the pricing strategy going forward? I know you're still kind of in research mode and you're not live, but it would be good to just understand that, if that's okay, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A very fair question. So indeed, we are still relatively early, but already now had so proof points in the lab and are now like also really closing requests for proposals with suppliers. So I'm happy to like show what is still for the moment estimates, but at least estimate backed up by experienced manufacturers. So what we think on the cost side is a consumable that will be, let's say, in the like higher single digits and then decreasing towards €5 after like a significant ramp up in production. And for the reader, because it's basically a very simple piece of electronics, like a camera in a black box, then you can really maintain the costs also limited on this. So this was for the cost side. For the pricing, we clearly looked at the reimbursements as it is in the key European markets and the US, and then let's say indexed our pricing on it. The reimbursement for this test so already exists and is in the combined a bit lower, 20 euros/dollars. So that's what we target. Reader comes with a 15 euro/dollar subscription. That also is like based on comparators in therapeutic drug monitoring or in like chronic condition monitoring at least, which are also approaches that are reimbursed in our key markets. So that explains why we can also already from like early on at the point of care benefit from reimbursement, and then to go towards home. So then we identified already, let's say, fast tracks to unlock reimbursement for a solution from home where we think it will demonstrate its largest value.
Great.
Cool.
Oops. Thanks so much, Quentin. And time is up. You heard it. So thank you. It was our pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks a
You can
lot.
reach
It was
out
my
to
pleasure as well.
QuantiLight to learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next company, next presentation is Holifya. Alessandra, founder and CEO of the company, will share opportunity with us.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for your time. Glad to be here. Just a second. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you. So at Holifya, we're building the first digital clinic in Italy with a global ambition. To share with you the problem we're tackling, 20 million adults in Italy today suffer from metabolic chronic conditions. So this encompasses obesity, hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes. The issue here is that the healthcare system is designed for acute crisis. Therefore, if you have a heart attack, need emergency surgery, actually Italy's healthcare system is world class. It's quite accessible, but well, if you have a chronic condition, good luck. Let me tell you more about what I mean. Healthcare over here is broken when it comes to chronic conditions because it takes 6 to 9 months to have a visit with a specialist doctor. So let's say an endocrinologist, if you go through the national healthcare system. Otherwise, what people are doing is they pay out of pocket 150 to 300 euros per visit. So this makes it quite inaccessible. Also, patients are actually left alone to project manage their own health. They get bounced from the GP to the diagnostics lab to a specialist, a nutritionist, without really any kind of coordination. And moreover, you wouldn't believe it, but care delivery is still analog on paper. So not digital and not data-driven at the moment. Hence, enter Holifya. We're building a full stack platform for metabolic health. It goes like this. You have your first specialist consultation with an endocrinologist under 48 hours of wait time, and it's free. After this initial diagnosis, we advise full checkups specifically for you. We analyze 3,000 data points per user, and our algorithms run this data, provide a draft care plan, which is validated by the doctor, and you receive your care plan along with your medical prescriptions. Of course, right now we're prescribing GLP-1 often, so it's an integrated plan which gets adjusted with your checkups. The monitoring is continuous and you have 24/7 access to your medical equipment. Our ambition is huge. We aim to become the top of mind digital health clinic in Europe by 2030. So we want to make a difference in 1 million lives. We are starting, as I mentioned, from metabolic health and medical weight loss more specifically as our first go-to market, but this is only the beginning. We'll be replicating the model in adjacent health verticals subsequently once we consolidate our positioning in this first vertical. We chose medical weight loss because it's where our scientific board has actually the strongest know-how, and also it's growing at 25% CAGR in Italy, so a huge market with strong growth, and we have first mover advantage in Italy right now. Our unit economics are strong. We started with a B2C subscription model because we wanted to know our users very well. We didn't want to be disintermediated. We have a 60% gross margin. What's mostly exciting actually is our 96% retention rate. Already have a solid scale up model with a 3x LTV over CAC ratio, so a 3 to 4 months CAC payback period. And it's improving month on month. So hopefully by end of year we'll get higher. To date, we started last year. We currently have 600K in ARR, 3,000 users onboarded to date. And we've also developed 10 strong B2B pilots aside our B2C model with corporates, insurance, and pharma companies, which help us distribute the service to the final user. We raised a 500K pre-seed round and are in the Endeavor network in Italy and Southern Europe. Our clinical results are also significant. For instance, a 10% body weight lost over 6 months on average, and 87% of our users actually see significant improvements in their health markers with the protocol. The growth strategy, as I said, is ambitious. We aim to achieve 1 million users by 2029 and more than 100 million euro in revenue. How will we do that? We will scale with B2B. So as I mentioned, once the B2C model is cracked, we will move into insurance and corporate welfare, which we started validating right now. And then we'll expand to other health verticals and other European countries. At the moment, we're present in Italy, Spain, Switzerland, and Germany, mostly Italy, although. We aim to grow with potentially a roll-up growth via M&A, since the digital clinic market is quite fragmented. So this is how we will lower CAC as we move to other foreign countries. The team is who is really making this possible. We have a strong managerial and finance background. I spent 7 years in McKinsey's healthcare practice. We have medical expertise in our scientific board and in our full-time team from Medtronic, and prior startup experience as well. Our scientific board is comprised by key KOLs of the industry, specifically metabolic health, genomics related to metabolics, and this is helping us, of course, with our scientific protocol, but also cracking the network with pharma companies and diagnostics labs. And now,
all right. But I have to stop you
Thank
there,
you.
Alessandra, but I'm
Sure.
sure you will talk about it during the Q&A.
Yes, definitely.
Diego, what do you think? Do you have any comment or question?
Yeah, grazie Alessandra per la presentazione. It's just my only few words.
Grazie, Diego.
Switching back to English, I think I am wondering if your approach is a little bit bold, say it is a geek approach for geeks who has the means to pay. Because down the road, I think the doctor will never see the patients. There is no physical interaction. So it's just on the scoring, and I think, and especially in the example you mentioned, also with GLP-1 for obesity, I think, honestly, I am a little bit scared by that approach because we all know what the side effects from GLP-1 are, and this is just a kind of, how to say, it's a commodity approach which is promoted by geek for geek. There is basically no medical follow on those patients, and honestly, I am very concerned on that. So sorry to be a little bit blunt on that.
No, absolutely, Diego.
And the second, I am really wondering, because of this highly weight on the digital interaction, how you can then tackle pathologies which are much more complex than just prescribing GLP-1 for obesity.
Sure. So absolutely, probably I should have been more clear. I absolutely agree with you. We believe in the future of healthcare where it's actually phygital. So it's not, we don't believe there will be an only digital model. I call it digital clinic, but really we are integrated with the healthcare system. So the first consultation is always online because this accelerates the time to a first diagnosis. So you actually know, first of all, which checkups you need to then go and do in a diagnostics lab. And actually the follow-up visits, especially for, let's say, extreme cases, obesity type 3 patients, are in person most of the time. So that is really up to the medical equipe. We can have follow-ups in platform, but also in person.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Diego. Filippo?
Alessandra, thank you so much. It was a really great pitch. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what you're currently raising and what you'll use the proceeds for.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for the assist there. So yes, we're now raising our second round. It's a 3 million seed round, of which 50% is committed already, partly by our existing investors and partly by new investors. So we're now looking for 1.5, 2 million ticket max from a co-lead investor. Ideally, we'd love to have someone from the digital health space, possibly Europe, since we are looking beyond Italy, although our first milestone is consolidating our positioning as the Italian champion in the metabolic health clinic space. So our proceeds will be invested in a twofold way. One is to accelerate growth through the B2C model we've already cracked, and to scale up through the B2B, where we have 10 pilots right now. And on the other side, we're looking to, of course, evolve our product to make it top notch. So we are currently implementing an AI health concierge in order to remove the most transactional interaction from between the patient and the doctor, and this will help us scale further.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We have about 20 minutes, so maybe very small final word from Alessandra before we finish, if you have any.
Okay, yes, well, thank you very much. So we are currently looking to crack Italy, where healthcare really needs reinvention, but we know the country is ripe for disruption. So if you are interested in knowing more about the round, who's committed, and possibly any kind of feedback, please reach out. Happy to have your thoughts.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you for sharing Holifya with us. Thanks a lot. All right, the next company, the next pitch is First Person Solutions. Joel Adams, founder and CEO of the company, will share First Person Solution with us. Joel, feel free to share your screen and go ahead with your presentation. But I think he's okay.
I think we're
he's
there.
here. Okay. Hello there.
Now I've lost my Zoom controls, but that's yeah. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Joel Adams. I'm the founder and CEO of First Person Solutions, and we produce an anti-inflammatory that is currently being used to treat several different chronic diseases. So, for example, chronic Lyme, there are approximately 2 to 3 million new cases of Lyme disease every year. This is a very big growing problem in both North America and Europe. And 20% of those cases will become chronic or long COVID conditions. I want to talk about several different chronic diseases because these four specifically are really the same thing. These four are very much a dysregulated innate immune system, which is producing too much inflammatory cytokines and inflammatory chemokines, and that inflammation is causing all of the symptoms that you get with these chronic diseases. Our treatment stops that inflammation. CelWel is an anti-inflammatory. It's comprised of 2 different Indian herbs in a special formulation that modulates the inflammatory response of the immune system. Basically, it's an all-natural anti-inflammatory that is such a good anti-inflammatory that we expect that this will eventually outsell aspirin. In 2023, we published our research paper in a peer-reviewed journal. That research showed that CelWel significantly reduced chronic fatigue in long COVID patients and significantly reduced the blood markers for long COVID. In 2024, we conducted a survey using 73 Lyme patients. In that survey, we showed that CelWel significantly reduced over 30 different symptoms of chronic Lyme. Whoops, went too fast. We presented those research results to the International Lyme and Associated Diseases Society Conference in November of 2024. We were very much the talk of the conference. We left that conference with 65 Lyme doctors asking for us to provide CelWel immediately to their patients, and they agreed in return to enroll those patients into the same study to give us a larger database and ongoing results of that survey. We also left that conference with the endorsement of 2 or 3 of the leading Lyme practitioners in North America, one in Canada, one in the United States in particular. If you choose to look up Sam Shore, you will find his video on YouTube. He was a former president of ILADS, and he has given us a very nice endorsement. We expect to start marketing this immediately to Lyme practices, not directly to the patients. We project that we will be cash flow positive within 12 months, and we predict that in the 4th year, we should be approaching $50 million in net profits. We have a opportunity to do a research study that will allow us to become an over-the-counter medication. Right now, we are merely a health supplement or a natural products supplement. We're not allowed to make medical claims to the public, but once we conduct this study, which will take us 10 months, we will be able to make the claim that CelWel has been shown to significantly reduce chronic fatigue, which gives us access to the retail market through Amazon, all of the retail pharmacy stores, and the allopathic doctors will be able to actually recommend us. This is a platform technology. Our anti-inflammatory has been shown to help people with dengue, shingles, hives, herpes, and other diseases that this could, or conditions that this could treat. This is also a global opportunity. We are currently in discussions with marketing and distribution companies in both India and Nepal. I'm here to ask for $1 million investment. For that, we will spend 3/4 of that getting the over-the-counter designation by conducting the research study. 25% of that is needed for marketing and operations. We do not anticipate holding onto this technology for a long time. It really belongs in the hands of an international consumer healthcare products company. And so we would be looking to exit within 4 to 5 years. And that's my presentation. I'll turn over the rest of the time to questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Joel. Great presentation. Pratik, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Joel. Can you speak a little bit about the IP protections and any kind of patents you've got around this technology, and more color on regulatory approvals to get this registered as medically working, and so you can go to consumers directly? What happens if that takes longer than anticipated, and what happens if that study doesn't go your way?
So yeah, if you could turn off my share. I can't figure out how to turn off my share. I actually
Sure,
don't
I
have
will.
access.
Okay.
Yeah, can you turn off my share for me?
Sure. Just a second.
So to answer your question, I said that this was a special formulation. We have added a microdose of a generic molecule into CelWel, and we have a global use patent for this generic molecule. So it's generic, but it was never used for what we're using it for as an anti-inflammatory. And so we have already obtained a global use patent for this particular formulation. You're not allowed to patent herbal medicines at all, but we have patented the use of that generic molecule that we add to this. And so that we have for protection. This is already for sale. This is an herbal supplement. What we're not allowed to do is make any medical claims to it. So we are selling it primarily to Lyme doctors because we can sell it directly to them and talk to them about what it actually does and show them the data. But I'm not allowed to put it on my label that this is a treatment for Lyme or a treatment for long COVID. That requires that 10-month study, and that's what I'm asking for the money for.
Thank you.
Thank you. John, do you have any question?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you, Joel, for your presentation. And I'm quite curious, what would be the latest acquisition by your target acquirers in this space in the last 10 years from P&G, Unilever? And do you have any idea about the metrics that they had during the acquisition, the kind of distribution they had before getting acquired by those players?
I'm sorry, I'm missing a couple of words. You're asking me about the potential acquirers, but I honestly missed whatever the words were.
Sorry about that. I was wondering if you had any example of brands, consumer brands that were acquired in the latest acquisition of herbal supplements from your target acquirers.
I do have examples of those. I had them on a previous presentation. I don't have them in front of me. Some of them were acquisitions of natural brands. This is a little bit different because this is actually going to be an over-the-counter medication when it's acquired. And I do not have any numbers for an over-the-counter medication.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, John. Diego?
Yes, I am wondering what is the active principle you have in your herbal oils, because I think this will be the solution for a direct claim in front of regulatory authorities.
I'm sorry. Say it.
what is, you said you have anti-inflammatory activities in your oil. Also, what is an anti-interleukin? Is an antihistaminic? Also, what kind of active principle you have in your herbal oil?
So the generic molecule that we're using has only been previously used as a preservative in other vaccines, right? And so this is a totally new use as an anti-inflammatory.
Basically, you are in the OTC market, and you have just you're hiding your active oil in pharmacopoeian preservatives accepted components.
Again, I didn't quite understand what you're saying, but I'm not open. If people did enough research into what we've done, they'd be able to figure out what the generic molecule is. They wouldn't be able to figure out how much of it we're using. The fact of the matter is, when we manufacture it, after manufacturing, it's no longer detectable. So we're not allowed to put it on our label.
Yeah.
It's been diluted so much that it's no longer detectable. So by law and by medical ethics, we're not allowed to even mention that we have it.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Diego. Philippa, do you have any comments or questions? We have about a minute.
Thank you very much, Joel. You briefly mentioned the sort of markets you're going after being India and Nepal. Could you maybe elaborate on why those markets and what your strategy is there?
Yes, because in India and Nepal, in India, this is licensed Ayurveda medicine. And Ayurveda medicine is recognized many places, but not in the United States. And so I'm not allowed to say the word medicine in the United States, but we manufacture in India. We had contacts in India. And so that was where we started marketing this as a chronic fatigue treatment through the Ayurveda clinics in India and Nepal. In the United States, the Lyme market is very different than the rest of the markets because for the last 25 years, the Lyme doctors have already accepted the use of natural herbs and anti-inflammatory diets in order to treat Lyme disease. So they are all over this idea, and so they are anxious to use this.
All right. Great. Thanks so much for the presentation, Joel, and answering the questions. Great to have you with us. Thank you. All right, let's go to the next company, next presentation. Next company is Unephra. Farhad, founder and CEO of the company, will make the presentation for us.
Hi, everybody. Yes, let me share my screen.
Yes, okay.
Do you see my slides?
Yes, we do. You can start when you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I'm Farhad, CEO and co-founder of Unephra. We're fixing how cardiovascular disease are managed currently at home, starting from heart failure, hypertension. So today, about half of the adult population in the US have hypertension. The stat is about 20-25% in Canada and Europe. Among 120 million in the US, 34 million are hard to control despite taking medication, and they add about $60 billion extra cost of care. The root cause is the solutions are not really fit for management. They are focused on symptoms and detecting the effects rather than the root cause. And let me get this. And there are basically burdensome and reactive, and more importantly, they don't provide any insights on why the numbers they measure are high or low. So there are clear opportunity here by addressing critical gaps in patient management and saving billions of dollars annually by focusing on the root cause rather than detecting the effects and symptom. In our case, there are adherence, fluid and electrolyte balance, using a monitoring system that is continuous and, more importantly, is passive, that does not require patient compliance. So our solution is risk factor monitoring from urine and providing actionable insights. This is our IoT that mounts inside the toilet. Coupled with our physiological model, we are able to provide quantitative intakes, like how many grams of sodium or potassium the patient's taking daily in their diet, risk factors, and response to medication. So technically, a patient doesn't do anything. They go about their business as usual. Data is automatically collected with every restroom visit, sent to the cloud, and our different AI layers in the cloud provide health insight to the patient and clinical insight to the care team, and they can proactively intervene if there is an adverse event. So our technology enables delivering a nephrology lab to home, which is AI assisted under physician supervision. We've built our MVP and have preclinical validation. So this is our model that assess the risk, provide, suggest actions, and can verify patient compliance by data. There's no product in the market currently capable of providing hypertension, risk factor, and salt sensitivity. Cases similar for heart failure, same data, different model, and we are 3 times faster and 5 times more accurate compared to standard of care, which is a connected weight scale. Physicians, they love it. They see Unephra as a game-changing solution, the way they can proactively manage the patients at home. Some of them, like Mill, invested in our company. Among notable traction, we have secured pre-orders from Stanford, have filed our pre-submission with FDA, and we are getting exemption from clinical trial based on the IVD's in-vitro diagnosis. And we have also arranged clinical studies with 2 hospitals. We're going to start with wellness application with a market of $4.4 billion for borderline hypertension, and then tap into a $16.7 billion clinical market after clearance from FDA. Our clinical applications go beyond hypertension and heart failure into adverse effect monitoring and more. Our revenue models, our business model is B2B with diverse revenue channels. For clinical applications, there are available CPT codes we can initially work and then boost the revenue and by reimbursement. With wellness application, our focus is employee wellness programs with average accounts about 25K. And of course, we are looking into data monetization with our predictive model, which we already have a pre-order for. This is our core team. My background is electrical engineering with a focus on developing sensors for medical applications. I also did a postdoc at Stanford Medicine, where I met my other co-founder, Pedram, who's a nephrologist there. And we incorporated Unephra to deliver the type of care he's giving to his patients at ICU to home, extended to home. And our CMO is a practicing cardiologist. We're being advised by top leaders in the field. And what makes us different is our proprietary technology, enabling us to address risk factor monitoring for hypertension and heart failure, making us complementary to Omron or Reprieve, cardiovascular. I'm going to skip this. For timeline, I'm going to focus on commercialization. In this round, we'll be doing our usability study in VNV. Right now that we have submitted our preclinical FDA submission, we are collecting clinical data based on the exemption that we are receiving and go to market by shipping our pre-orders by Q4. This will favorably position us for our first price round early 26. We will scale in 26 and 7 and have break even mid 28. Post reimbursement introduction, which will boost our revenue and margin close to 200%. Preferred exit for us is strategic M&A with expected ROI of 21 times. Today we are raising $750K using SAFE, and we have raised $270K in pre-seed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Farhad. So Diego, would you like to start? What do you think about the presentation?
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I am wondering what would be your business model. So who is going to pay for your device, and what will be the path to reimbursement for that device?
Of course, that's a good question. So for clinical applications, we are going initially with the remote patient monitoring. There are available CPT codes here in the US currently. Therefore, we can actually bill insurance right away. That would generate something around $334 per patient. And then by introduction of reimbursement post-effectiveness, I will show with our clinical studies, we can have reimbursement up to $1,100 for heart failure. So this is for clinical application. And then there are also concierge medicine. These are like private clinics. Patients will pay rather than the insurance. And for wellness applications, employee programs, employers are paying because we are reducing the cost of care.
All right. Thank you, Diego. Philippa, from your side, any question?
Thanks so much, Farhad. Maybe we could go, could you just elaborate perhaps a bit on your sort of product roadmap, particularly interested in whether you can you monitor other vitals, or will you be able to move into other verticals beyond hypertension?
Yes. So that's a great question. As you could understand, this is a true platform, and which can have many applications. Our initial target population and initial market that we're going after, basically our beachhead, is uncontrolled hypertension. And this is like a wellness application, like salt intake monitoring for hypertension risk factor. And while we are waiting for our FDA clearance. Post FDA, we can tap into several clinical applications beyond cardiovascular disease management. The first one, which is by itself a big market, is adverse effect monitoring. We have identified a few avenues here. For example, thyroid disorder. Many of the medications prescribed for thyroid disorder have potassium and calcium loss, so we can readily provide information to the physician who is prescribing these medication with personalized patient response, if they are responding to any side effects, or if the medication is effective enough for them to keep the dosage type or change the dosage type. Similarly, some of the medication prescribed for breast cancer also have issues with calcium loss or potassium loss. And the other applications like osteoporosis, since we are able to monitor calcium loss, and that's one of the main pathways of calcium loss is urine, we can provide, again, personalized response to medication that are prescribed for osteoporosis or characterize osteopenia before patients become osteoporosis. So these are some of the applications that we have identified.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Farhad. We have about like 20 seconds, so maybe final words before we go to the next presentation from you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks so much, Farhad. You listen Unephra. Feel free to reach out to him after the conference to learn more about it. Thank you, Farhad.
Of course.
All right, the next company, Curlim, Lawrence, CEO of the company, will share the opportunity with us.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to
right
share
now,
my...
yeah, you should be able to do that right now.
I should do it now. Share and presentation mode.
Yes. No, not right now.
No, not yet. Sorry.
Not yet. Yeah, not yes. Right now.
Now, I just click. Sorry, I need just to. Oh my God, because I don't see the full screen. Sorry for that. Coming back.
Okay.
I don't know where.
It's
Okay,
a full
good.
screen for us right now, by
No,
the way. Okay.
I will start. It's okay. I don't
Okay.
see the full screen. That's the reason why. Sorry for that. Okay.
No
Good
worries.
evening, everyone. I'm Laurent Bourg, the CEO of Curlim. I will have the pleasure to present our solution about peripheral neuropathies. Actually, in Curlim, we focus primarily on CMT1A, which is the most common hereditary neuropathy. It's a lifelong progressive motor disorder starting from early childhood, and you can see it accounts up to 310,000 patients if you include Europe and the US. What we've been able to achieve in Curlim is to obtain fantastic results on twofold direction. The first one is the motor nerve conduction speed that have been increased significantly. You can see both on rats and mice by 120% and 218%. And the second effect was back to balance, normal balance. You see a sick rat being treated by our compound name CLM001. They go back, they can stay on the bar more than 30 seconds, equivalent to normal rats. Whereas when you have a sick rat, you will stay maximum 10 seconds. So how do we achieve that? Actually, we have a platform made of modified beta-cyclodextrin with a cellulose nanoparticle that allows the API to be soluble, to increase the bioavailability. And you see on the right side, the green signal, meaning that we improve significantly the intracellular penetration. And so we can go inside the cells and having this effect. We identified two major secondary mechanisms. The first one is the reduction of cellular oxidative stress. You can see on the yellow bar, the sick rats treated after 12 weeks, they go back to a normal level, whereas the sick rat not treated, there's still a high level of free radicals. On the right side, you can see spectacular results because you have a cross nerve section of the nerves. You see when you have sick rats, they lose the Schwann cells, the myelin that is around the axon, and it's coming back after 12 weeks of treatment. So we restore the nerve conductivity. So with all these robust results, we think that we have a solution that could be applied as well to other applications. We have several in mind, and we'll start the proof of concept, but we cannot name it for intellectual property. And we also have already started in vitro test on a new molecule for new pathologies. In terms of competition, I will be quick. It's mainly gene therapy, and gene therapy targets specific gene by definition. And when you deal with CMT, Charcot-Marie-Tooth, it involves more than 100 genes with 100 mutations. So very expensive if you have to target every gene. We've been audited by an external cabinet in terms of intellectual property, and the result was we have a very strong patent, and we just submitted a dossier on orphan drug designation that will allow us to have exclusivity until 2041 for the US and 2046 for Europe. One word about the team. On the left, you have the co-founders, Frank Sturz, a neurologist for the past 35 years. He's also set up a company, a startup with Anne Nguyen, member of the board, called Medincell, now worth €500 million at SBF 120. So this is not the first time they start and they set up a new company. On the right side, you can see actually the operational team. Myself got more than 30 years of experience, international experience at C-level. My last position was divisional vice president in Abbott. Frederick joined us as a CTO. He will bring more than 25 years of experience in drug development with pharma and startups. And we have a group of young people dealing with regulatory and production. For the board, you have Thibaut Simon, who is a patient. Jean-Marc Patiot just recently retired, managing venture fund of 3 billion, and Julie, our marketing brain, as I used to say, coming from our incubator. To conclude, this is our roadmap. We're on track right now, both on CMC, on preclinical, and on regulatory. We just closed our seed round of 3.1 million, and we target for 2026 Series A round to finance the end of preclinical talks and start the clinical phases with patients. Thanks for your attention, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
Great presentation. Thank you, Laurent. John, would you like to start? What do you think about it?
Well, it's going to be very quick. Thanks a lot, Laurent. It's super impressive. I am not competent at all when it comes to drug development. So sorry for this very naively curious question. It seems that you're targeting pathologies that go through profound evolutions, and the patient's stages are very different through the months and years. How do such an early stage drug development startup like yours should approach this evolution when designing phase 2 and 3 and defining the most strategic claims when it comes to your first?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. First point, we tested our drug on the animal models on young and older rats, meaning that we don't have to start at the early stage of the disease. And that's the main argument. And in terms of recruitment, actually, we already designed the clinical phases. We already have in our board, the scientific board, people already conducted for other companies this kind of studies. So we know how to recruit, and we just have in our scientific board always some representative at the national level of this CMT disease.
Thanks.
Thank you, John. Pratik, do we have any questions or comments?
Yeah, can you, I think it was probably the first or the second slide. Can you just touch more on the market sizing piece and what the potential opportunity is for VC returns with the business like this, please? Thank you.
The market size is, if you just take into account the Charcot-Marie tooth, so this is an initial target, or even better, the CMT1A. CMT1A will account around, on a conservative basis, I will explain to you why the conservative basis, around $4 billion, Europe and the US. If you include all the CMTs, it's around $8 billion, the TAM. When I say conservative, because there's only one exhaustive study made in Germany measuring the cost, non-medical cost, direct cost, and indirect cost for CMT patients, but it lacks of a lot of indirect costs. So we took this conservative approach, around $25,000 per patient.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Diego, how about you?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I am wondering, what is your, you mentioned a very strong IP situation. Could you share with us a little bit more details on that? Also, is it present, you have enough composition of matter IP, or just some formulation on delivery?
So actually, no, for the moment being, it's methods of use. It's not a compound, because there were publications before that. But, and that's the reason why we've got feedback for pharmas who push us to go more on the substance. Actually, between the publication and the launch of the product, there have been a lot of modifications. So we'll go through major reinforcement of this patent. And this is what we work on the past 3 months. And by the same token, we've been able to identify the original mechanism of actions as well, which is very interesting. And we will be able to reinforce strongly this patent. I talked to 5 major big pharmas about this, and of course, they're interested by the results, but they were a bit afraid because of the patent. That's the reason why we work a lot on this patent to reinforce this level of strength.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Philippa, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Laurent. Could you elaborate on how you will be spending this 3 million seed round, or sort of how that allocation will be split between all these different phases you have here?
Yeah, actually, the 3 million is mainly focused on the end of the formulation and the starting of preclinical talks and the regulatory cost. And on top of that, the most expensive will be, you see, the DRF formulation, CDMO. So we're already working with 2 CDMOs, one for the 3 components and another one for the assembly and the formulation. So that's all this cost. I have all the detail We have all the quotation. We already signed the contract, so it's very precise. I can forward that to you, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Great, Lawrence, you answered all the questions very clear and very, fast. So that was great. So we have about a minute. If you have any more questions from the panel, or Lawrence, if you have anything more to say, if you're to add.
So yeah, maybe just one comment about the seed one. We already have 2 funds. We are not a lot diluted. We focus on a small dilution, but 2 VCs came to us because they just want to see the evolution. So we already have people ready to join the next round. So we are looking for additional VCs, of course, for the big round. That's the idea.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Lawrence. Great presentation. And thank you.
For your time.
Thank you so much. All right, then, let's move to the next presentation. The next company is Laminate Medical Technologies. Tammy, CEO of the company, will share the opportunity with us. Yeah, here she goes.
Hello, everyone. Good
Hello.
evening. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Tammy Gillan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Laminate Medical Technologies. What we focus on at Laminate is end-stage renal disease, patients who suffer from kidney failure and need hemodialysis in order to filter their blood circulation instead of the kidneys. The way it works, the patient comes to the dialysis clinic usually 3 times a week. Each session takes about 4 hours. You connect the dialysis machine to the blood circulation and take out the dirty blood, if you will, filter it and return it to the venous system when it's clean. The most common and preferred method for accessing the blood circulation, creating a dialysis access, is called AV fistula. It's a simple surgery that is performed by vascular surgeons in the arm, where the surgeon connects between a vein and an artery. And this is how it works. And then 2 needles get in. One takes dirty blood from the arterial circulation, filters it in the dialysis machine, and brings it back to the venous circulation. This is the way dialysis has been working in the past 62 years, actually, from the point which this access has been invented. The problem with this access to the dialysis machine is that the failure rates are very high, very poor stats for these procedures. We're talking about 30 to 50% failures within the first year after the access is being created. A failure basically means that the access is not working, it's clotted or thrombosed and needs a reintervention, either an intervention with a balloon or a stent placement or a surgical repair. So that means more and more procedures and hospitalizations for these patients. It also means that these patients will have to get their dialysis because this is a lifeline for them. And they will do it through a catheter, a central venous catheter, which is known to be inferior than the fistula, than the access that is done through the surgery, creates 2 to 3 times more infections and more mortality rates than the simple surgery. And the cost to the system is also enormous. These are numbers that are taken from the US. These are numbers that are paid by Medicare and CMS because these patients are covered by the public insurance company. Our invention, VasQ, is a nitinol device. It's a mechanical device that is implanted during the surgical procedure. We have it available in several sizes that meets the full range of diameters of different blood vessels of patients. And in the past decade, since I co-founded this company back in 2012, we've been invested massively in clinical trials. This is an implant that stays in the body. And as you probably know, in order to create a revolution in a space that hasn't been changed in the past 60 years, there is a need to show data that actually supports that this is advantageous for the patients. So what you see here in the right is the most important metric to measure the success of these surgeries with VasQ, with our devices. This is what you see in the blue bars. we've been seeing 87 to 100% success rates in 9 peer-reviewed studies that have been published. This is data that is taken from the UK, Germany, Italy, and a very big study in the US that served our FDA approval as well. This data has been compared to the control data, the standard of care data from 8 different studies, as you can see in the red bars. These are surgeries that are done in the standard of care without our device. So across the board, we've seen a significant improvement with our device. We've seen fewer interventions for patients and cost reduction for the system. We've also seen significant improvements in head-to-head comparison, control studies that were done independently by surgeons around the world. Up to date, more than 3,000 devices have been implanted. In 2024, we've hit our biggest milestone up to date. We got a new reimbursement code for this device by Medicare and CMS, which is huge. This allows us more than 95% margin when we sell this device in the US, with our direct sales team, which is small and lean, but shows a really nice return. We've just started in October, and we're expecting to be at around $6 million in revenues by the end of the year. And you can see the numbers throughout 2027. We're also working with distributor partners around the world in countries like Germany, the UK, Singapore, Greece, Israel, and the Netherlands. And this has shown success as well. We have a very experienced and talented team of executives, and we're raising money to support these commercial activities that we've just started. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tammy. Pratik, would you like to start? What do you think about the presentation?
Thank you. Really interesting. So I think I wanted to touch on something that you mentioned, a space that's not been changed in the best part of 60 years, right? What unique insight and advantage do you and your team have to be able to kind of change this space? It's one thing having a good product, which you clearly do, but in terms of the distribution, in terms of the go-to-market, and in terms of your backgrounds, how are you going to utilize them in order to disrupt the space?
Yeah, thank you for the interesting question. I think that it's actually a combination between approaching the problem from a different angle. This is what we've done, with the solution that hasn't been introduced before. This is an external support that sits outside of the blood vessels and prevents some of the root causes that lead to these failures. And to be honest, I think that resilience as well, because I'm not sure that many people would have been invested in, 10 years of clinical studies and collecting data to solve a problem for patients.
Cool. Thank you very much.
I mean, can I piggyback off of Pratik's question here and perhaps ask from your team, we briefly skipped over the slide, but who from your team is really leading the commercialization going forwards?
Sure. So Anthony Rodriguez is our VP Market Access, who is based in Austin, Texas, in the US. And he came from companies which are specifically in the vascular surgery segment, companies like W.L. Gore, Abbott, and BD as well, Becton Dickinson. So very specific experience in dialysis access for the past 13 years.
Mm-hmm. And I maybe tag along on that question is, I really like, Tammy, your presentation. How do you compare your device to the Humacyte studies which are now under development, and even more particularly on the Exceltis trial, which is ongoing now?
Yeah. So both Humacyte and Celtis focus on synthetic materials that are an alternative to AV fistulas that are native, that are using the native blood vessels, vein and arteries. These are second best to the native surgical procedure based on the guidelines. So if a patient has good enough vein and arteries, the recommendation of the guidelines is to use, the patient's own blood vessels. If the vein is not of good enough quality, you can try a synthetic graft. So both Celtis and Humacyte have develop solutions, that use synthetic materials or bioengineered materials. But you can also compare head-to-head with our clinical results that have been significantly better than specifically those two companies.
Thank you.
Thank you. John, how about you? Any question from your side?
Well, nothing in particular. Thanks a lot and congrats on the resilience. Is there any specific reason why it lasted 10 years? I guess must have been a rough path. Any specific thing to mention here?
You mean why choosing this space or
Not really, but well, I guess it wasn't planned for 10 years. Did you encounter specific challenges that you had to overcome, or is it just like the normal path that was planned?
Yeah, no, it was planned to be, as always, probably a little bit shorter than this. But when you look right and left to see the development of implants in the cardiovascular space that have been changing, moving the needle, I think that this is probably the average time to get to market, especially in the US. CE approval we got a few years ago.
Well, congrats.
All right. Any follow-up question from the panel or no? All right. We have about a minute, so maybe Tammy can share something more, any final words from you.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting financial opportunity for someone who wants to invest in a low risk stage. I think that we have massive evidence that the device is working and there's a lot of buy-in from customers. It's now a matter of execution and doing it right, which is obviously a challenge, but a different one, I think, in this space. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tammy. Great presentation. Great to have you with us today. Thank you. All right, then. Now we are moving to final presentation. The last final company is OrthoSens. Gavanil, CEO of the company, will share the opportunity with us.
Yes. Hello. So I have the exercise to finish this session. Can you see the screen in presentation mode?
Not yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for hanging in the call. I'm Gwenaël, founder from OrthoSens, and we are on a mission to transform orthopedic care with real-time data, thanks to those small battery-free sensors that will be able to provide data-driven healing. Now, why is it important? When in my family, I was able to witness firsthand what happens with my father going through multiple surgeries. So one common denominator is that you're sent home, you've discharged from the hospital, you're sent home with limited guidance in your recovery. And we know that patients have an important role in steering their recovery process. You basically rely on static snapshot with X-rays at sporadic follow-up visit at 1, 3, 6, and 12 months, where basically irradiate the patient and deduct the recovery process from there. And this has a huge impact. If you look, for instance, in spine surgery in the US, there's nearly 1/3 of those surgeries that fail, and it creates above $5 billion annually burden on the US healthcare system. And basically, we have to change from reactive care management to a proactive one by providing real-time data to the different stakeholders. And that's exactly what we are doing at OrthoSens. So we've developed those tiny battery-free implantable sensors that you can integrate into existing orthopedic implants. And then basically we have an external wearable that, like with your cooking stove, you're powering with inductive coupling the implant. And this is talking to a surgeon and a patient app. So here you have an example of that. You're able to measure a key parameter like movement, pressure, force, and you're also able to deduct fusion level, so bone osseointegration, which is the common endpoint indicator for successful spine fusion surgery, for instance. How will we reach the market? So we want to leverage our partner established distribution channels Here, what you have to know is, for instance, spinal cage, there are no data-driven and connected implants on the market yet. It's a crowded market. You have over 1,000 FDA-cleared implant cage, so it's difficult to differentiate yourself. And we also see from CMS, so Medicare, Medicaid, a push for have objective and mandatory patient-reported outcomes. Now, we've secured a first partnership with a French SME, and so tomorrow we will be able to deliver them a unique market differentiator where they will be able to offer their stakeholders, surgeons, for instance, the ability to detect misplacement during surgery, but also enable remote patient monitoring and remote outcome, which is really important. Now, you may have guessed we'll operate in the orthopedic market. The first focus is on the spine, where we have really large numbers of revision surgery. But what is also interesting, some of the other fellow startups touch upon that with the push since COVID of remote monitoring. It's a growing market, an expanding one, growing at a double-digit CAGR. And this is really interesting that we would be able to provide this connected care to the different stakeholders. Our business model is a B2B model. We have basically two pillars. The first one is with our partners, the implant manufacturers, where we have sales of our sensors, with the current unit economics that you see here from a competitor, Canary Medical, and also R&D integration mandates. But what is really interesting is the second pillar, which is based on recurring revenue. So we can leverage existing reimbursement for remote patient monitoring, which is $97 per patient per month, up to 2 years of follow-up. And here we have, with the current prototype cost, already a quite comfortable gross margin. Fully committed team. I failed to start it before. I learned on what not to do. And I have the chance to have Oleg on board. He developed hardware that's currently flying to space and applied that same rigorous to medical device development. And Hossein is already developing the second generation of our sensors without any electronics, which will be able to expand into other orthopedic application. Fortunate to have Philippe on board. He's the founder of Medide, led to a successful acquisition by a listed player, and also Professor Alfieri. He's a key opinion leader and have performed a lot of surgeries and helped us on the clinical development side. This is a busy slide. I'm happy to come back in the Q&A. What is important here is in Q1 next year, we want to start the animal studies and then the V&V activities for, it's a 510K, so still a class 2 device in the US, and expect a market launch by Q1 2028. And in the last 14 months since creation, we covered quite some ground. So developed the technology from scratch, integrated into 2 fully functional implants, and filed the core IP, secured some interesting partnerships with hospitals and implant manufacturers, non-dilutive funding, and we are now raising our seed round and got some awards and recognitions here. And in terms of next steps, we are now raising our seed round of 1.85 million as an equity round that we want to close by Q3 this year. And we basically want to deliver on 4 milestones. So the finalization of the MVP of the spine sensor, conduct and prepare the animal study, ISO certification, and also be able to prepare the FDA dossier. And for this, we are looking for support. So persons who can help us on their journey, also to land strategic partnership, ideally with the US, because it will be the first market, and also open some doors with hospitals and key opinion leaders. And to finalize, I just want to say that at OrthoSens, we believe that every patient deserves to have clarity, confidence, and a successful healing. And I invite you to join us on our mission to positively impact 30,000 lives by 2030. Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Great presentation, Gabriel. John, would you like to start? What do you think about it?
Well, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm quite curious. I've heard about a few devices that were used in this space, but more integrated into either clinical trials or post-marketing studies for those players. I guess that would be a shortcut to the market. Have you explored this way as well?
Sorry, once again, I'm not sure, Jean, that I've got your question.
Yeah, so we've seen a few devices that were also in this space, but that were commercialized through clinical studies or used by those players in post-marketing studies. Mm-hmm. I guess that's a way to shortcut the market or to get into the market in a fast way. Is it something that you're exploring as well?
Yes, so thank you, Jean, for the question. So we are focused on the US to adopt this strategy because there we are still a class 2 device, so we don't need to have any clinical studies. In Europe, we are class 3 active, and that's the strategy that we want to do. Once you launch on the market in the US, we want to leverage this 2 years of real-world evidence that you gather with post-market surveillance data to be able then to file for getting the CE mark. And what we see also, what could be interesting also for the partners in the US market, as there is a push for a remote, for patient-reported outcome in a mandatory setting in Medicare, that they are able to offer that remotely to their stakeholders and also claim higher reimbursement rate to the insurers if they are able to prove that their device is above standard with those real-world evidence.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. Philippa, any question from your side?
Thank you very much, Gunnar. Lovely, lovely pitch. Just for my understanding on the product side, how long does the sensor remain sort of functional after implanted? As in, does it need to be replaced ever?
So thanks for the question, Philippa. So no, the sensor stays inside of the body, and our approach is basically, compared to the different competitor, is having all the complexity outside of the body. So the implant is completely passive. It stays in the body with the normal implant, so up to 10 to 15 years, depending on the kind of surgery. And then with the external wearable, it's basically powering it. So for spine surgery, you're typically looking at a 12 to 16 months window to be able to track the fusion and the healing process of the patients. And then it depends really on the kind of surgeries. But if you look, for instance, at some of the competitors, for instance, Canary Medical, they have implantable pacemaker battery with accelerometer, and if they would do, for instance, real-time monitoring, they will be out of power in a couple of days. And we can do that with the external wearable that is easily to recharge and with this complexity outside of the body that I mentioned just before.
Amazing, clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Diego, any comment from your side?
Yes, thank you. Like the presentation. I am wondering if you can share with us what will be the clinical endpoints you are aiming to measure. Because so far, I think you can get a lot of results, a lot of dynamic movements and dynamic results out of a spinal, but those has to be linked to some endpoints which needs to be achieved or just scored in your. And I'm wondering which one will be those endpoints.
Yeah, thank you very much, Diego, for the question. So we want to position ourselves not to attach any clinical claim on the measured data at the moment. So the impact on that, if you look at the current assessment of a spinal fusion, successful spinal fusion, for instance, you're X-raying the patient and you're needing to assess the osseointegration, so the fusion level of that segment. With titanium cage, you have a lot of scattering, so it's a bit of a guesswork, and then you have subjective patient self-report on pain level, the osseointegration index and other patient-reported outcomes. And so the endpoint that we want to link in the first objective is the successful fusion rate. So be able to track remotely the recovery on the fusion, on the osseointegration level, and then we'll see which other endpoints are steering the recovery process depending on activity level or given recovery, personalized recovery exercises, etc. But at the current point in time, we don't need to attach an endpoint to the clinical claim. We just want to measure the data, but that will be a big exercise that we have to do afterwards to be able to see which endpoint we want to attach with the internal load measurement and the external movement as well. And happy to get your thoughts if you have some inputs on that topic particularly, because we're still trying to figure that out and interviewing some surgeon and healthcare professional in the field.
And the subsequent question to my first one, do you think that your sensor can be integrated in the spinal implants which are now on the market?
So it depends. What I didn't mention at the moment, it's on PEEK implants, so non-metallic implants at the moment. That's fine. We have a partnership currently with Laminate Medical. It's a small company, 17 million in revenue, 52 people. But then we are also, Hossein is already working on the second generation of sensor without any electronics. And there we can go in any component, so metallic implants, PEEK implants, and expand that to, for instance, knee, hip orthopedic implants.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much, Diego, and thank you all the advisors. All right, time is up. Thank you for the presentation, Ganel. And that's all for everyone. Thank you so much, all the advisory board, Diego, Filippo, Pratik, John, all the presenters, people in the audience, investors staying with us until the end. Thanks a lot for everyone. And the next HealthTech Investment Conference will be in early July. And yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good evening or good afternoon wherever you live. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.